Hey everybody, it's George Carroll, and I'm here with a special guest. Her name is Cynthia Stadd, and she does some amazing work that I'm going to actually probe her about today and interview her about. Cynthia, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm amazing. Playing daddy, as you know, full time right now over the next couple of days, so I got my hands full. And our viewers hopefully are going to have their hands full of you here in a moment as we talk about the work that you're doing, and the transformation that happens when you get your hands on people. So tell us more about the work that you're doing, and also how did you get into it?
Yeah, getting my hands on people. That sounds fun. So the work that I do is all around helping people end what I call their food and body and weight war. So this is for anybody who is in nutritional confusion, anybody who has had a weight problem for years, anybody who has had health imbalances for years, and you know your diet is a part of this, and you have a lot of knowledge around nutrition and healthy eating, and you don't follow what it is you want to be doing. And the reason you might not has nothing to do with the food itself. It has nothing to do with facts and nutrition. It has everything to do with you as the eater. It's everything that gets in the way from what you want to be doing, from the knowledge, all the stuff that gets in the way. Emotions and stress and belief systems and everything in that realm. So that's what I do, is I help people get out of that war and really find peace around eating and their diet and who they are. Because, when you're in a struggle with food and diet and weight and body, you're in a lot of struggle with yourself. And it permeates into many more areas than just what you're eating. So that is my passion. I've been doing this for a long time. And I got into it because I myself was in what I call bona fide food jail for many, many, many years. I was the person who had nutritional charts over the house, counting every calorie, every fat gram, everything. I knew so much about food, but yet at night I was stuffing my face, or I was emotionally eating. I was a real binge eater. My weight went up and down like crazy. My health went off the charts in a bad way, completely diet related. And it was hell. I mean, I was just in a war with my diet and myself for a very long time. So that's what got me into this, because I got out of that, and getting out of that, I saw it has nothing to do with the food. It has nothing to do with finding the perfect diet. It was so much deeper than that, so much more psychological than that, so much more about understanding my emotions and my beliefs and my patterns. And it just really fueled me, like, oh, wow, there's a whole nother piece to this nutritional pie that nobody's talking about. And I wanted to start talking about it.
It sounds like you are speaking to about 90% of the population.
I think I am.
Including myself at one point in time. Over the years, I've just kind of shaved away all the lies, the limitations, the beliefs, and gotten more disciplined. But I still am working on this thing around eating healthy and really getting aligned with my vitality. Tell us, when people are in that process or in that journey of finding their own aligned level of vitality, what is it that maybe initially gets in their way? What are some of the biggest myths that people face that stop them?
I think that answer, there's two sides to that answer. There's nutritional myths and food beliefs that are really getting in their way, meaning they're really caught on thinking something is nutritionally true, and they base all their desired diet decisions around that. But the thing they're basing it on isn't even true, and it's causing them a lot of problems.
This is huge. So can you give us an example of that?
I sure can. So let's talk about the 80s. So in the 80s, a nutritional belief was born called, if I eat fat, I will get fat. And the fat-free craze began, of everyone was scared to eat fat. And the belief that came from that, the food law that came from that, is you should not eat fat. Well, a lot of people adopted that nutritional belief and took it as food law and took it as truth. And we had the worst health decade we have had in 30 years prior to that, because then sugar went into all the food to make it taste good. Everybody was avoiding fat, so the sugar's in the food Diabetes rises. By the end of the 90s, it was like off the charts. We had never seen that before. The overweight epidemic in America went through the roof. And on the flip side, without fat in so many people's bodies, hormonal problems, fertility problems, all kinds of stuff happened. So that's just one example of the kind of belief that somebody could be subscribing to and thinking is true and thinking is absolutely the way it has to be. And it's causing them a lot more harm than good.
So they should consider maybe the source of where they get their information from, I'm guessing, because so much of what you're talking about is fed to us through the media. Is that an accurate thing to say?
It's fed to us through every expert, through every diet book, through every nutritionist, through every doctor. And look, a lot of the science is sound. I mean, there's a lot of science out there that is great, but each system has its own nugget of wisdom, which is wonderful. But the problem is that half of them oppose each other. So we have to go through this process for ourselves of how do we sort through that? How do we figure that out for ourselves and make decisions about our diet and how we want to have self-care for ourselves through diet? And we have to learn that in a way that works, because right now it's not working.
I know you have an online course coming out that's probably going to educate and transform a lot of lives. If somebody were just getting started in educating themselves, I guess what resources might you offer?
Well, the online course is for that, for sure. The online course is called End Your Food War, Reclaim Your Weight, Health, and Peace. And it is designed for the person that says to themselves, okay, I've been in a struggle with food and body and weight for a long time. I'm in a struggle with my diet, and it is affecting me. It is affecting, my happiness and my peace and lots of things. So that person comes into the course, and I basically take you step by step through how to start this process of really transforming your relationship with food, your relationship with yourself, how you think about nutrition, how you're going to figure out your diet, how you're going to approach it, with the goal that by the end, you have a much more peaceful relationship with this thing you have to do every day, which is eat. And you're going to get the tangible results you're looking for, like weight loss and balanced health and the rest of it. So it really takes you through all the stuff that gets in the way and how to navigate through that. That's really the purpose of the course.
There's so much information out there. And I think for me personally, one of the biggest things that got in the way was this idea that it had to happen overnight. Kind of, we're in this instant gratification sort of society where if we think it doesn't happen immediately, then we think, okay, there's something wrong with me. Can you talk about that mindset and how it impacts people's ability to really find the health that they desire?
Oh yeah, I call it monkey see, monkey do. So diet book goes out there, expert nutrition's out there. We read it, we think that's the way, that's the holy grail. We do it, maybe we follow it, maybe we can't, but we don't get the results we're looking for, right? And then we go down this psychological spiral of, I suck, I didn't do it right, something's wrong with me, this isn't the way, whatever it is, right? But it's struggle, it's stress. So I think that's what you're referring to, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's two pieces to really what you're talking about here. There's sort of the mindset, the psychology, the emotion, and then there's maybe the strategy. If somebody's starting with the strategy, but just has a broken mindset or emotion around all of it, what are going to be their results?
Yeah, they're not going to go far, which is why the course actually is probably 60% mindset. Because it has to start from how you're approaching all this and how you're thinking about food and how you're thinking about self before you actually do anything different. And that's why I love that I'm part of this conference, because that's what it's about. You want to create the greatest year of your life? We got to start with mindset. We got to start with how you're approaching things and then what needs to shift to really get the results that you want before we get to the action part.
Absolutely. It's all about creating that internal alignment before we start taking that action outward. And for those of you watching this, Cynthia is going to be one of the guest speakers at the Greatest Year of Your Life 2017 in Denver, Colorado, January 13th through the 15th. And she's going to come in on day 2 and talk about how do you transform your relationship with food. And I think really underneath all of that is how do you transform your relationship with yourself? Is that accurate to say?
100%. My favorite thing that I say is how you do food is how you do you. So whatever you're doing with food, the way you're thinking about it, acting with it, responding to it, reacting to it, emotions around it, everything, guarantee it's showing up in other areas of your life. If you're very all or nothing with food, I'm either on the bandwagon, I'm off the bandwagon, I'm in, I'm out, there's an absolute, I'm right, I'm wrong, guarantee that's showing up in other areas of your life. So it is. I think relationship with food is this really cool portal, this really cool thing that kind of shines the light on you, who you are, how you're operating. And we heal it in the realm of food, watch other things heal too. It's really amazing.
Powerful. I'm looking forward to learning from you. I'm going to be in the audience taking notes right there.
Awesome. Me too for you.
So tell us, can you give us maybe a case study or two of somebody you've worked with that was, having the biggest challenge, struggling, and through working with you, going through some of your processes, what were some of their results?
Yeah, I think, probably the biggest issue that I work with is emotional eating, which is basically just when we eat for reasons other than hunger, right? When we're putting food into our mouth, whether it be a certain type of food or a quantity of food overall, for emotional reasons to change, meaning we are in a state that we don't want to be in. We're feeling something we don't want to feel. We're uncomfortable. We're not happy. We're feeling something. And we're using food to change that state. And one case study, wow. I mean, that's what I work with on a daily basis, to be honest with you. But I can think that I have one client who, she's a dentist in North Carolina, and it's a lovely, lovely woman, and really in a food war for a very long time. And her weight got very high. And she was very, very convinced that if she could just count the calories and find the magic formula, this was all going to go away. And I'd say she's one of my biggest success stories, because I got to the point, it took me about probably 3 or 4 months, but I got to the point where I convinced her to completely let go of that thought and just focus on the idea of healing the emotional side of this and not worrying about the food and the calories and all that. And once that happened, we could really dive in and then go through the process of how you actually change this emotional eating, this using food to solve or change emotions thing. And wouldn't you know it, 6 months later, she lost like 50 pounds.
That's powerful. So we got to change the emotional programming first before we can start seeing a different result.
If that's your issue with food, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, I love this topic because I'm personally somebody who is always striving for more efficiency, both productivity wise in my business and energetically, having as much energy as I possibly can throughout the day so I can have a bigger impact in the world with the work that I do, and also be more present with my family and my child. I know that there are so many people out there who want more energy, but they're using the Red Bulls and way too much coffee. And can you talk about a little bit of that, of what that kind of pattern does against people?
You mean like physically, if you're using substances to boost your energy?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's basic science. If you are artificially stimulating your metabolism and your energy on a regular basis, you're completely throwing off your chemical balance, your hormonal balance, and it's going to backfire. I mean, that's what happens. We can't sustain that. The adrenals will get taxed. Your insulin levels will get off eventually. I mean, it will cause problems down the road. It's just a matter of when and how intensely you're doing it that causes the problems later. But, nobody can sustain that for a long time without seeing side effects down the road.
Right. I was always in the pattern of having coffee in the morning, and then I'd have a nice burst of energy till about 11:30, then have this huge lunch. And afterward, I go into a food coma. And to try to combat that, I'm drinking a Red Bull, or I'm drinking a bunch of Diet Cokes or more coffee.
Yeah.
And I just remember, and this was, 8-9 years ago when I worked in the corporate world, I just remember every few months my body would break down. And
How?
Yeah, what's that?
How did it break down? What happened?
Well, as I started educating myself, I started to look at the alkaline versus acidic balance in my body, where my pH levels were. And what I realized, I was feeding my body so much acid that it just would break down. And so do you talk about that, the alkaline to acid ratio, pH balance, and all of that?
If I'm talking more like hardcore nutrition, I will, but I don't do nutritional seminars as much anymore. I'm more a little more on the other side of things. But yes, I mean, if we're in that conversation, yes, acid alkaline balance is very important for sure.
Yeah. And over the course of the years, learning from people like you, learning from other people out there who have great information, just have slowly inched myself into this place where I'm super efficient, but I still have some work to do. So I'm looking forward to learning from you. To wrap it up here,
Can I ask you a quick question on that though? How did you get out of that cycle? So if you were in that cycle of coffee and energy drinks and all that, like, was there one thing that you did that really popped you out of that?
it wasn't one thing. It was more a series of things that changed for me. The two things that popped, number one was education. And number two, as you teach, is taking a look at when I'm in a gorging eating pattern, what am I feeling? Am I stressed? What's the emotional pattern that's connected to the behavior, making that connection? And then as you do, heal the emotion around it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's music to my ears.
So I know you're going to be speaking at the event. I'm super excited to have you. And for those of you who are watching this video right now, you can learn more in the link that maybe is shared in this post, or you can go to GYOYL.com. It's a 3-day event. There's 7 different guest speakers over the course of 3 days, and it's designed to help you create the greatest year of your life in 2017. Cynthia will be speaking on day 2. Cynthia, if you could kind of hone it down as best you can to what are the 1 or 2 things that people are going to get out of your session, what would they be?
They are going to come out completely inspired and motivated to see their whole relationship with food and weight and body from a whole different perspective. They are going to get ideas about how they can create the healthiest year of their life and the most balanced year of their life when it comes to this subject, stuff they haven't heard before. I'd say that's the core.
I love it because think about it. If we don't have our health, if we don't have the energy that we need to go out and conquer our dreams and goals and conquer the fear, if the health piece isn't there, it's almost like one of the most primary things that we have to have in place if we're going to go out there and achieve our goals.
It is. I mean, look, our health is our mental function too. We can't be creative and do our work and be passionate and do all the things we want to do if the physical chemistry of the body is off, or we don't feel good, or we're tired, or all of that. It's hard to do.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I know that a lot of people are looking forward to hearing you and learning from you, including me. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to do this quick interview. And for those of you watching, I hope you'll come experience Cynthia and the rest of the event at the Greatest Year of Your Life 2017. Take good care, everyone. Thanks, Cynthia.
Bye. Bye, everyone.